how to keep motivated and stay in control during a crisis. And today's strategy is how snakes teach us to de-stress. I'm Dr. Zed, creator of the Breakthrough System, and I'm only going to take about 10 to 15 minutes of your time, but we're going to go through some great information and strategies to make the most of the situation to help you stay in control during this crisis. And today's word is going to be about control, and we'll understand that a bit more. But before we dive into the discussion, it'd be great to hear from you. So please leave a comment below and let me know what part of the world you're in, and of course ask any questions you have during the next 15 minutes or so. But even if you're watching this on a replay, still leave a comment or a question, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Now, we all feel stress, don't we? Stress is a natural human response to a threat. I mean, even before COVID-19, everybody experienced moments of high stress and overwhelm. I mean, even before the coronavirus came into the scene, stress was a major cause of mental health issues. Stress has been referred to as the silent killer, as it can silently cause heart disease, high blood pressure, chest pain, irregular heartbeat, weight gain, blood clots. It can cause damage to your blood vessels and result in hair loss. I mean, you just have to look at me. I can talk about stress from experience. Stress is believed to account for about 30% of all infertility problems. I mean, in women, it can cause spasms in the fallopian tube and uterus. In men, it can affect the sperm count and dysfunction. There's been correlations between stress and the top 6 causes of death, like cancer, lung ailments, heart disease, liver cirrhosis, accidents, and even suicide. I mean, chronic stress can shrink and impair and kill brain cells. It's even been found to negatively impact the developmental growth of children due to a reduction of the growth hormone in the pituitary gland. Now, just to highlight, a few health problems caused by chronic stress. There's things like headaches, hair loss, memory, acne, psoriasis, insomnia, heart attack, worsening asthma, cravings for sugar and fat, digestion problems, belly fat, back pain, decreased sex drive, high blood pressure, adrenal fatigue, high blood sugar. It can age you, and it has effects on the immune system too, which means the more stressed you are, the more likely you can get infections. So, but how do we recognize the symptoms of stress? Well, there's quite a few, as you can see, but I just want to highlight just a few red flags, okay? Now, if you're experiencing chronic stress, there's things like memory loss and trouble concentrating, fatigue, and insomnia or disrupted sleeping patterns. These are quite classical signs of chronic stress, and that's stress over a long period of time. This is not just a stress in a momentary event. This is stress over a long period of time. So these are the sorts of things, and if you are experiencing that, then my advice is you go and see your GP. Okay, there's no two ways about it. You go and see your GP if you're experiencing these sorts of things. But I want to talk to you more now about what's called the demand control model, which is based on the job strain model, which was developed by Karasek in 1979, which states that when demand is high and control is low, then stress is high. So high stress plus low control equals high stress. Okay, and the causes of stress generally fall into about 3 categories, and they are physical, like for instance the physical environment in which you work. If it's cramped, the workload you're under, unsafe working conditions, so the physical things can cause stress. Emotional, like even if fear causes stress and stress causes fear, there's an overlap there. Loss, emotional loss, the loss of something, the loss of a loved one, the loss of things that you find dear. And there's also the emotional cause of conflict. And there's also the psychological cause, like, deadlines. Deadlines can cause stress. Now, I have been giving these pop-up talks over the last, 3 days now, and I've got the last one, part 4, tomorrow. Now, it normally takes me about 4 to 5 hours to prepare for a 15-minute talk. Can you believe that? But the deadline of 7 o'clock each night forces me to get moving, but it does cause a little bit of stress. But I know and I implement my own stress management techniques. But deadlines can cause stress. There is also the psychological stress of redundancy, being made redundant, especially in today's world where millions and millions of people have actually been made redundant. That is a cause of stress. There's also a psychological cause of bullying. Bullying in the workplace, in the school ground, at home, wherever, causes stress. So that's the three main things: physical, emotional, and psychological. And COVID-19 has an effect on all three causes of stress. Okay, physical, emotional, psychological. High demand, low control equals high stress. But what can we do about it? How can we minimize stress and stay in control during these uncertain times? Well, surprisingly, snakes can teach us a lot about how to de-stress. I can hear there's a bit of disbelief going on in the background there, but you stick with me here. I'm going to show you how it is. But before we talk about that, before we talk about how snakes can teach us about how to de-stress, I just want to recap the neuroscience of what's happening inside your brain, because this is how we're going to circumvent the things that are happening so that you can control what's going on. So just to recap, and if you've been following me over the last few days with this, you'll be familiar with this. But if you're just new to this, I want to introduce you to what's called the Triune Brain, or the Triune Model. And that was created by Paul D. MacLean in the 60s. He was a physician, a neuroscientist. And I remember studying this in the late 80s as a medical student here in the Adelaide Medical School, and thought, what a fantastic model of the brain. And I promptly forgot all about it for about 10 years after that. But I rediscovered it a little bit later. But it's a fantastic model because it describes how the brain is wired. Okay. Now, first of all, you've got the forebrain, which is the neo-mammalian part of the brain. Neo meaning new, it's also part of the neocortex. It's responsible for our intelligence, reasoning, our self-awareness, analysis, planning, okay? It's what separates us between us and the animals. The second part is a slightly older part of the brain, evolutionary speaking. It's called the paleomammalian, or the limbic brain. It's in the midbrain. It's where our emotions are. It's our emotional centers. It's responsible for our imagination, dreams, rewards, but it's also responsible for our pleasure and pain. And there's a little acorn-sized nodule in there called the amygdala, which is really the driving force behind that. The last part, or the third part of the brain, is called the reptilian part. It's the oldest part of the brain. And it sits right here at the back of the brain, called on top of the where the skull meets the spine. And it's called the hindbrain, and it's responsible for our instincts, our survival, our fight and flight, our involuntary reflexive instincts. Now, the neo-mammalian brain, forebrain, it likes to plan and analyze things, and it keeps things under control. It likes to predict the future, and it likes to work out what's likely to happen, which is why it really dislikes uncertainty. Your paleomammalian midbrain, the emotional center, it likes to seek pleasure, and it certainly likes to avoid pain. And that's why it reacts emotionally to what's going on. And it often overreacts. So when fear or stress kicks in, it's the amygdala that's working in overdrive. And uncertainty, like we're experiencing now, it triggers many fear-producing emotions and many stress-producing emotions. And your reptilian hindbrain, well, that's just wired for one thing, and that's just to keep you alive, which is why safety and survival is paramount for your reptilian brain. And any uncertainty is seen as a threat that must be avoided. You see, here we go. It's about high demand, low control equals stress. if the reptilian brain sees a high threat and it can't control it, stress kicks in. All right. But what this actually means is that we see the world through a filter, through the filter of these three parts of the brain. Your brain filters out what it receives. So it receives information based through a filter of beliefs, through emotions, and through the survival instinct. Okay, it filters what it wants to see. So if our beliefs and our emotions and our survival instincts are kicked into overdrive, that is how we're going to experience what's going on around us. So we need our higher centers of the brain to override the lower centers of the brain. Now, I talk a lot more about this, a lot more, go into a lot more details in my new books, which I sort of published last year in November. It's up to you why most people fail to live the life they want and how to change it. And the banana trap, how to escape a life of stress and finally break free. And in fact, today's talk is actually a lot of it is in the banana trap. But all you have to do is Google Zarcinas books, Zarcinas. Just Google Zarcinas books. They'll pop up on your search engine and you can learn a lot more. But now, so now that we know a little bit about what's going inside our brains, I mean, so how do snakes fit into the picture? How do snakes teach us how to de-stress? Well, the technique I'm about to teach you, it works by allowing your higher brain centers to override the lower brain centers. All right? In a crisis, it's higher brain functions that need to take control. Remember, stress is high demand, low control. So we need to up our control. Otherwise, your mind gets swamped with emotions of fear, stress, panic, and instinctive fight and flight reactions. All right. Now, there's a million strategies to minimize stress, okay? But there's one strategy that I find extremely, extremely useful, and it's the one that I want to share with you. And it's called the hiss technique, okay? Hiss, as in what snakes make, all right? I just want to tell you a story of how I developed this hiss technique, and it happened, believe it or not, in a schoolyard, in a primary schoolyard. I went to a fair, a school fete, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, just to support the school. I was near one of the beaches here in Brighton, here in Adelaide, and there was a big crowd gathered around this woman. So I thought, my curiosity was piqued, and I went over. And being quite tall, I can look over crowds. That's one benefit of being tall. And I looked, and she was a park ranger, and she was holding a snake. Now it must have been a python, not a brown snake. Not that I know that much difference between the two, but she was holding a snake, and she was teaching the kids and probably all of us adults in the crowd as well. She was teaching us what you do when you see a snake. Now, it always evokes the memory of my youngest daughter, who, when as a 3-year-old, we just moved into a property up in the hills, which is surrounded by bush, and obviously snakes like a lot of bush. In Australia, if you're watching this from around the world, we've got a few nasty snakes, and brown snakes are I think they're the second most poisonous snakes in the world. And so I was trying to prepare my 3 or 4-year-old daughter on what to do if she saw a snake in the garden. And I said, so what do you do, darling? What do you do if you see a snake? She goes, Daddy, you step on its head. And I went, no, you do not do that. You do not step on its head. So, but anyway, the ranger was telling the kids what you should do if you see a snake. And she said, the first thing you do is that you stop. You stop. You don't do anything, you just stop. The second thing you do is stand still. You don't jump up and down, you don't race off, you don't run towards it, you stand still. So that's the second thing. You stop, you stand still. The third thing is you stay silent. You don't yell out to your mum or your dad or your friends, you don't scream at the top of your voice, you don't tell the snake to go where it needs to go. You don't say anything, you stay silent. And the fourth thing you do is you step back slowly. No sudden movements, nice and calm, step back slowly. And while I was watching it, I thought that is an incredible technique for stress management. An incredible, and I developed his technique right there, right then on the spot. And so what you do when you feel rattled, if you feel the stress hormones flooding your body and your heart is racing and you're feeling angry and you're feeling like you need to explode, if you're feeling rattled, you need to stop, you need to stand still, you need to stay silent, and you need to step back slowly. Now, I use this stress management technique in all moments that I find stressful, and it works really, really well. I really recommend it. You stop, you stand still, you stay silent, and you step back slowly. This is a fantastic technique. If you can remember this technique, especially during this moment of crisis, because it's about control. Remember, high demand plus low control equals high stress. You may not be able to control the demand that's on you at the moment, okay? You may not be able to control the external situations, but you can control what's inside you. You can control what's going inside your head. And you can stop, you can stand still, you can stay silent, and you can step back quietly. So you can increase your control, and you will be amazed that when you increase your internal control, your stress levels will decrease proportionally and markedly as well. So I want to leave you with a quote by Gary Zhukov, who wrote The Seed of the Soul and The Dancing Wu Li Masters. And he said, what is behind your eyes holds more power than what is in front of them. Okay? That's where your control is. What is behind your eyes holds more power than what is in front of them. And that's your power to control. So thank you. And if you enjoyed this little technique, I would really appreciate if you could like my page on which it is your natural state of being, and you just have, and also if you could just maybe, if you want to learn a bit more, join one of my groups, the Breakthrough Group. All you have to do is find the groups there on the side if you're watching this on a PC. If you're watching it on a mobile phone or a mobile device, I'll just show you what to do in just a second. But go into that, find the groups, and then just ask to join, and I will get the notification and I will sign you up. And we're going to talk. And in these groups, I go into a lot more detail on how to stress management, procrastination, fear management, emotional management, energy management, time management, all these things. So if you're on a mobile phone, just, please like the little thumb signal up there, scroll to the left if you can, find the groups and click it. And please click to join up and I'll get the notification. So again, if you want to learn a lot more about these techniques, please just Google or search Zarcinas books and you will come across it. So thank you very much, people. Thank you for joining me. And hopefully we'll see you sometime, same place tomorrow night for the fourth and final part of this series. Thank you very much.